What if I told you there are 5 simple words that can make a man think about you for hours, even when he's far away? Would you believe me? There's a truth about male psychology that few women know. Certain words awaken such a deep emotional need in a man that he just can't shake them from his mind.
I know exactly what it feels like when your words seem to go unnoticed. When you speak but he doesn't really seem to hear. When your attempts to connect emotionally with him only seem to scratch the surface. You're not the first woman to wonder if there's a way to reach his heart through words. And no, the problem isn't that you're talking too much or too little. One of the greatest scholars of human psychology discovered something revolutionary about how certain words activate specific emotional centers in the male brain, creating a kind of echo that keeps resonating long after the conversation is over. And until you know what those words are and how to use them, you'll keep feeling like you're speaking a language he doesn't understand. Your feminine voice carries an ancient power that goes far beyond what you imagine. It's the same voice that has comforted, that has inspired, that has awakened greatness in men throughout history. And today, you're going to discover how 5 specific words can awaken an emotional connection in the right man that he won't be able to forget. There's a secret language that speaks directly to a man's subconscious. It's not about manipulation or playing games, but about understanding how his mind processes emotional connection differently than yours. While you, as a woman, tend to connect through sharing feelings, he connects through words that make him feel seen, valued, and surprisingly, free. The first word that deeply resonates with male psychology is proud. But not in the way you might think. It's not about inflating his ego or feeding his narcissism. It's about genuinely acknowledging something within him that deserves admiration. When you say, "I'm so proud of how you handled that situation," something very specific happens in his brain. Neuroscience studies show that male recognition activates the same brain areas associated with pleasure and reward. But there's a crucial difference. When this recognition comes from a woman he respects, the impact is exponentially greater. It's as if you're validating not just what he did, but who he is at his core. The secret lies in specificity. Instead of generic compliments like, "You're amazing," the word "proud," followed by something concrete you've observed in him, creates an emotional imprint. He doesn't just feel good in the moment, he carries that feeling with him. Throughout his day, he remembers your words and, consequently, remembers you. But here's what's essential to understand. This word only works when it's genuine. A mature man can distinguish between real recognition and an attempt at manipulation. When you express true pride in something he's actually done or who he is, you touch a primal male need. The need to feel competent and valued by the woman who matters most to him. The energy behind the word proud is what makes it powerful. When you say it with conviction and genuine warmth, it resonates in his subconscious as a confirmation that he's seen and appreciated in his entirety. And that creates an emotional mark that lingers. Imagine a man driving to work the next day, remembering the tone of your voice when you told him you were proud of him. That memory becomes a gift he carries with him, a source of strength that connects him directly to you. The second word that lingers in a man's mind for hours is trust, but again, not in the obvious way. It's not about mechanically saying, "I trust you." It's about expressing specific trust in his ability to be himself without needing to prove himself to you. When you say something like, "I trust your intuition on this," or "I trust that you know what's best for you," you're touching something deeply masculine, the need for autonomy. Men are raised from a young age with the message that they need to be independent, self-sufficient, capable of making decisions. When a woman expresses trust in this ability, she validates the very essence of masculine identity. Psychology teaches us that trust is the foundation of all secure attachment. But in the case of men, there's an added layer. They need to feel that you trust not only their love for you, but their competence to navigate life. It's a subtle but crucial difference. Notice how he reacts when you express confidence in his decisions, even in the small things. "I trust you'll pick the perfect restaurant for us," might seem simple, but it touches his need to feel capable of caring and protecting. It's not about dependence, it's about recognition of his masculine capacity. This word creates a mental echo because it awakens in him the desire to live up to the trust you place in him. It's like you're lighting an internal light that reminds him that he is capable, competent, worthy of respect. And when a man feels like that in the presence of a woman, he can't stop thinking about her. The difference between manipulative trust and genuine trust lies in the intention. When you express trust to get something from him, he feels it. When you express trust because you truly believe in his ability, it touches a sacred place in the masculine psyche. It's this authenticity that makes the word echo in his mind long after you part ways. The trust you express becomes part of his internal narrative about who he is. When he faces challenges, when he needs to make difficult decisions, the memory of your trust becomes an inner voice that strengthens him. And that voice carries your emotional presence, making you present in his life even when physically absent. The third word that unlocks something deep within a man's heart is admire. It holds an almost magical power because it speaks directly to his need to be respected. But not just any kind of admiration. It's admiration for who he is, not just for what he does or what he owns. There's a real difference between "I admire your car" and "I admire your determination." The first is superficial, fleeting. The second touches the core of his identity. When you say, "I admire how you stay calm in difficult situations," or "I admire the way you treat people," you're acknowledging qualities he values in himself. The word admire works in a man's mind like an external confirmation of something he hopes to be internally. Every man has parts of himself he wants to be recognized for: his integrity, his strength, his ability to protect, his wisdom. When a woman he respects expresses admiration for these qualities, it's as if she's validating the image he holds of himself. Studies show that recognition is one of our most basic human needs, but in men, it manifests in a very particular way. They need to feel they are admired, not just loved. Love can be unconditional, but admiration has to be earned. And when you express genuine admiration, you're telling him that he's earned something valuable in your eyes. The secret lies in careful observation. Admire something you've truly noticed and value in him. It might be the way he treats his parents, how he handles pressure at work, how he shows loyalty to his friends. When your admiration is specific and true, it becomes unforgettable to him. The word admire creates a lasting emotional mark because it connects directly to a man's need for respect. It's different from being loved or desired. It's about being respected for who he has chosen to be. And that's a need so profound that, once touched genuinely, it stays with him, resonating in his mind for hours, even days. That admiration becomes part of how he sees himself. When you admire his integrity, he becomes more aware of acting with integrity. When you admire his emotional strength, he connects more deeply with that strength. Your admiration doesn't just recognize who he is. It inspires him to become even more of the person you see in him. The fourth word that resonates within the male mind is chosen. This word holds transformative power because it speaks to a man's deep need to feel selected, not out of a lack of other options, but because of his genuine worth. When you say, "I choose you," or "I choose to be here with you," you're conveying something that goes far beyond love itself. You're communicating value and a conscious decision. To truly understand the impact of this word, we need to consider how men process rejection and acceptance. From childhood, they constantly face situations where they feel they have to prove their worth, in sports, in academics, at work, in relationships. The word chosen communicates that he no longer needs to prove anything. He has already been chosen. There's a profound difference between "I love you" and "I choose you." Love can be seen as something that happens, a feeling that arises. But choosing is an active, conscious, deliberate decision. When you say you choose him, you're communicating that, among all the possibilities, he is your conscious decision. The practical application of this word is powerful. In moments of conflict or distance, instead of simply expressing love, try expressing choice. Even when we disagree, "I still choose you," or "I choose to work through this with you instead of giving up." These words touch a very specific place within the male psyche. Notice how this word changes the dynamic between you. When a man feels chosen, not out of necessity, but out of value, he relaxes. He stops trying to constantly prove his worth and begins to simply be who he is. And when he feels secure in the knowledge that he has been consciously chosen, His mind returns to you as the source of that emotional security. The word chosen works because it eliminates the masculine anxiety about adequacy. He no longer needs to wonder if he's good enough, if you might find someone better, if he's meeting your expectations. You've already made your decision, and the decision was him. This certainty creates a mental tranquility that makes him think of you with profound gratitude and relief. But there's an even deeper dimension to this word. When you choose a man repeatedly, choose to forgive, choose to grow together, choose to resolve conflicts instead of running away, you demonstrate a quality that's rare in the modern world: conscious commitment. And that constancy becomes an emotional safe haven in his life, a place to which his mind always returns when it needs peace. The fifth and perhaps most powerful word that whispers to a man's soul is "I feel." It might seem surprising, since men are often seen as less connected to their emotions, but that's precisely why it resonates so deeply. When you say, "I feel you're worried," or "I feel your strength even when you doubt yourself," you're offering something rare: emotional understanding without judgment. The word "feel" communicates an intuitive perception. You're not analyzing, diagnosing, or trying to fix anything. You're simply acknowledging what you perceive in him. For a man who spends most of his time rationally explaining everything he feels, having someone simply feel what he's going through is profoundly liberating. This word works because it validates his emotional experience without requiring him to explain or justify it. "I feel this project is stressing you more than you'd like to admit," acknowledges something he might be trying to hide, even from himself. Your feminine intuition becomes a bridge to his emotional life. But here's the hurdle many women face when using these words. They use them as strategies instead of genuine expressions. When you say, "I'm proud of you," just to get a reaction, or express admiration you don't truly feel, a mature man senses the inauthenticity. And that not only cancels out the effect of the words, it can create distrust. The shadow of these 5 words appears when they become tools of emotional manipulation. Some relationships are built on women who've learned to use these words to control male behavior, offering conditional recognition for what they want in return. This turns powerful words into bargaining chips. Another obstacle is the resistance some women feel in expressing admiration or pride, for fear of inflating his ego or appearing submissive. There's a cultural confusion between recognizing genuine value and feeding narcissism. The difference lies in authenticity and reciprocity. You might be wondering, what if I express these things and he doesn't reciprocate? This is a valid concern. The truth is, these words should flow from a place of abundance within you, not from neediness. When you acknowledge genuine value in him, it should enrich you as well, regardless of his reaction. If you can only express them expecting something in return, perhaps it's best to wait until your motivation is purer. The word "feel" also carries the risk of being misinterpreted. Some men may feel exposed or vulnerable when you perceive things they'd rather keep hidden. So, use this word with care and compassion, always offering space for him to share or not, without pressure. The key to using these 5 words in a truly transformative way lies in your sincerity and timing. It's not about memorizing lines or mastering techniques. It's about cultivating the ability to perceive and express genuine appreciation. When you truly see a man and recognize his authentic qualities, the right words will flow effortlessly. Start by practicing mindful observation. For a week, really observe the man in your life, or the men around you, if you're single. Look for moments when you genuinely feel pride, admiration, trust. Notice when you truly choose to be in his presence. Observe what you intuitively sense within him. Drawing from this genuine observation, experiment with expressing one of these words each day, but only when you truly mean it. "I admire how patient you were with that situation." Or, "I sense you've been carrying a lot on your shoulders lately." Don't force it. Don't exaggerate. Don't use it as a bargaining chip. Simply express what is true. Observe his reaction, not just the immediate one, but how he behaves in the hours and days that follow. You'll likely notice a subtle shift in how he interacts with you. It might be more attentiveness, more affection, more presence. This happens because these words create a positive emotional memory associated with you. For single women, these words are equally powerful, but they should be used with even more care. Use them only with men who show real potential for emotional reciprocity. Don't waste genuine appreciation on someone who doesn't have the capacity to value it or return it. Remember, you're not trying to win anyone over. You're offering genuine recognition to someone who deserves it. The difference is that in the first case, you're coming from a place of neediness. In the second, you're coming from a place of abundance. And quality men are naturally drawn to women who operate from abundance, not need. Timing is also crucial. These words have the most impact when expressed in moments of vulnerability or triumph. When he's facing a challenge, and you express your confidence in him. When he achieves something important, and you express your pride. When he demonstrates strong character, and you express your admiration. These moments create deeper emotional imprints. Also, practice mindful silence. Not every moment needs words. Sometimes, your attentive and caring presence communicates everything he needs to hear. The power of these 5 words lies precisely in their rarity and specificity. Use them like pearls, not like everyday coins. The real transformation happens when you understand that these words aren't tools to get love. They're expressions of love. When you use them from a heart that's full, not needy, they become bridges of genuine connection, not strategies for conquest. A man who feels truly seen by a woman doesn't just think about her, he transforms in her presence. He becomes more present, more attentive, more generous. That's because recognizing the best in a man awakens the best in him, and he naturally wants to offer his best self to the one who sees him that way. But here's the deepest revelation. When you develop the ability to see genuine value in others, you automatically become more valuable. A woman who can see and express the best in people develops a natural magnetism. She becomes someone in whose presence others feel uplifted, recognized, inspired. That's the difference between using words as a technique and using them as an expression of who you are. When recognizing genuine value becomes part of your nature, you naturally attract people who have value to recognize in return. It's a transformation that begins with words but extends to your entire way of relating. Notice how this practice changes you too. When you train your gaze to perceive genuine pride, admiration, trust, and choice, you develop a more refined eye for human quality. This protects you from people who don't deserve your recognition and draws you to those who do. The 5 words, pride, trust, admire, choose, feel, then become not just ways to touch a man's heart, but ways for you to connect with your own capacity to love in a mature, conscious, and abundant way. And that's the real magic. When you love from a place of fullness, you become unforgettable. There's a spiritual dimension to this practice. When you genuinely recognize the value in another human being, you're honoring the divine within them. And when a man feels seen and honored in his deepest essence, he can't help but feel connected to you in a way that transcends the physical and the emotional. It's a soul connection. This connection becomes a source of strength for both of you. He carries with him the memory of being seen in his totality, and you carry with you the satisfaction of having offered a rare gift. Authentic recognition. It's an energetic exchange that nurtures and elevates everyone involved. Now let's try a practice to weave this wisdom into your everyday life. Today, find a quiet moment and reflect on the important people in your world, both men and women. For each person, ask yourself, what do I genuinely admire about this person? What would make me feel proud of them? What qualities do I truly trust when it comes to them? Jot these insights down. Not to use as some kind of strategy, but to nurture your ability to see true value. When you train your heart to recognize authentic beauty, your words will naturally become more powerful because they carry truth. Choose someone today and genuinely express one of these sentiments. Not because you want something in return, but because seeing the beauty in others is an act of love that enriches both the giver and the receiver. Remember, your voice holds the ancient, feminine power to recognize, nurture, and inspire. When you use this power with awareness and love, you don't just touch hearts, you transform them. And in the process, you remember who you truly are, a woman capable of seeing and awakening the best in those around you. Consider keeping an emotional journal where you record the moments you genuinely felt these sentiments for someone. Today I felt so proud watching how John treated that person who was struggling. I admired how Maria kept her cool during that crisis. This exercise will train your perception to recognize human worth. Also, practice expressing these sentiments to yourself. I'm proud of how I handled that difficult situation. I admire my capacity to be compassionate even when I'm hurting. I trust my intuition. When you become skilled at recognizing value within yourself, expressing value to others becomes natural and authentic. Set aside a few minutes each week to meditate on the qualities you most value in human beings: integrity, courage, compassion, wisdom, generosity. When you connect deeply with these values, your ability to recognize them in others expands organically. And finally, practice forgiveness when your words aren't received in the way you hoped. Not everyone is ready to receive genuine recognition. Some might feel awkward, others might be suspicious of your intentions. This doesn't diminish the value of your gesture. It simply reveals where they are on their emotional journey. The truth about these sentiments isn't that they're magical formulas to grab a man's attention, but that they're expressions of the feminine power to recognize and awaken value. When you use them authentically, you offer the world something rare: the experience of being truly seen and valued. A person might forget what you said, they might forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel when you recognize something valuable within them, something they might not have even known they possessed. That's the true power of words: not to control, but to connect; not to manipulate, but to inspire. Use these sentiments not as techniques, but as expressions of the wise and loving woman you are, and you'll discover that the right person won't just think about you all day. They'll become a better version of themselves in your presence, because that's what happens when someone feels truly recognized by a soul that knows how to see beauty. Remember, these sentiments are seeds. Some will sprout immediately, others may take time to grow, and some may fall on soil that isn't quite ready. But every time you plant a seed of genuine recognition, you contribute to a world where people feel more seen, more valued, more connected to the best versions of themselves. And when you become someone who offers this kind of authentic recognition, you don't just attract attention, you attract quality people into your life, people who recognize and value the rarity of what you offer. Because in the end, we all yearn to be truly seen. And whoever has the ability to truly see others becomes a light in the world, someone unforgettable and transformative in the lives of those lucky enough to know them.